live from the heart of all things family. Welcome to the Dr. Claudia Show. Come on in, sit down. Let's talk about your relationships, your family, your friends, your spouse, your kids, everybody. Nobody's off limits. I'm Dr. Claudia McCulloch, your host, answering your questions, America. Nobody else's, just yours. Call me at 833-400-5050, 833-400-5050. You can also go online at drclaudia.net. That's drclaudia.net. And click on the Ask Me button and send me a question. This will be great fun. Wait till you hear some of the stuff we're going to be talking about today. Oh, anyway, love the Olympics. South Korea did a masterful artistic job. Who in the world puts together all of that stuff? What a circus. I mean, there are so many rings going at once, especially with these Winter Olympics, because of so many venues that have to be managed. The natural venues, you got to make sure you have the right snow and the ski lifts and all that stuff. I have no idea how those people who fly off, those snowboarding people, and they do all those things and they land. Wow. These people have sensation-seeking neurologies. They have to have all this sensory input, and that's when they really feel their best. Fighter pilots, those kind of people. So anyway, the one thing that was really funny was the streaker. Did anybody see that? Did y'all see the streaker? Oh, my heavens. My heavens. Oh, no. This guy is probably about 6'2", 240 pounds, maybe. He's the British father of 3, long hair in a ponytail. He is wearing maybe a watch, too. He's wearing a watch, at least. He's wearing a tutu and what was described as a bizarre monkey thong over his stuff, okay? And he is dancing along the ice. It looks like a skating track kind of a race. And he's got his arms out and he is, flapping around. And what he has written on his chest, and it looks as though somebody wrote that on, because I can't see how, in terms of motor skills, that could have happened. It says peace and love. And I was walking through the living room and I saw this. I said, peace and love? Oh, no, darling. No love for you. Not without an injection and a prescription. Okay, so, people are so fascinating to me. I mean, that's why I've done the work I've done. And Alicia Keys has really characterized me today because this girl is on fire. Netflix, stop what you're doing with that series, Downright Perfect. We will not tolerate you denigrating children with Down syndrome. So just stop it. We are better than this. You cannot do this. This is disgraceful. So just stop. If any of you know about this series, it is completely unconscionable, ignorant, disgraceful, discriminating. Anyway, when I see this kind of stuff on television, I think, who thought this up? I have worked with quite a few kids, teenagers, adults with Down syndrome. They have a lot more potential than you know. And people look at them and immediately assume they know about how these kids operate. And you have no idea. You have no idea the skills they have. And yet this series, how did you all think that you could get away with this? If you had done this to another protected class of people, you would be so vilified that you would shut down your business. But okay, so that's enough of that. I'm so disappointed in adults most of the time, which is why I've worked with kids all my life. At least when they make mistakes, they are truly mistakes as a result of lack of experience and judgment and knowledge, but it's not usually mean like this. speaking of mean, let's talk about the queen of mean. I saw this come over my news feed. This is an amazing story, and it's going to be one that's fairly familiar to you, but there are so many lessons here, and it's really important. I'm talking to you, mothers of sons, adult sons. I have so much wisdom to share with you from the people and the families with whom I've worked with for 24 years, and I worked with over 1,200 families. So I've gotten to see dynamics and have had an education at the master's level of how families operate. So this woman, her name is Julia, and she sent a letter. So she's a grandma-to-be, and she sent a letter to Slate's Dear Prudence column. And this is what she says. My son Stephen and daughter-in-law Julia are expecting their first child and our first grandchild next month. I had what I thought was a good relationship with Julia, but I find myself devastated. The bottom line here is that she's whining because Julia will not allow her to be in the delivery room when the baby is born. Julia has decided she wants her husband and her mother, which is perfectly appropriate. So there's a lot of lessons to be learned here from the mistakes that this woman has made. And she is calling on the readers of Dear Prudence to give her suggestions as to how she can convince Julia. Are you rolling your eyes out loud? I can hear it. Most of you are rational, logical people, and you're saying, well, of course. And oh, she was so offended when she called Julia's parents and they brusquely hung up on her. This woman thinks she's entitled to be there because A, is her son's child, and B, she's a retired nurse of 40 years. So, let me tell you what the story is on this. And if you have a son, I want you to sit down and listen to this, because if you don't harvest the information I am going to share with you, you are going to create a situation that you can't live with. That the relationships you have with your son and daughter-in-law will not be what they could be. So just erase this whole idea of what's fair and not fair in all of this. And my husband and I have had a number of conversations because I am a strong personality. Okay, stop laughing. You stop laughing. Let's look at you. But the faces that you're making.
It's not a bad thing.
But it could get me into a lot of trouble. And I know who I am and what I could be like. And I could take over, which is why I practiced for 24 years by myself. Because I wanted things to be done in the way that I felt was correct. And that was my job. And that was my training. And I spent a lot of years training and having experience. But this whole mother/mother-in-law thing, should the kid ever get married, has morphed into something that you don't think you're about to get into until you're trying to scrape it off your shoe. And I don't want that to happen to you. So just a little bit of background. You already know this, that this woman, she has had to have been intrusive, insensitive, throughout the pregnancy, likely, giving unsolicited advice because she's a nurse, you know, and that's what she's putting up as her mask, her disguise, that gives her credibility and almost permission to make the kinds of comments that she has made, which has earned her a seat in the hallway instead of being in the delivery room. So she has been really impressed with herself, but she has painted herself into a corner. Lots of you are shaking your head. Everybody has somebody like this in the family. She has little idea how her son feels about her. She lacks insight. She has failed to benefit from the experiences of being in this family so far, and now she's paying the price. Smack her, wake her up. I want you to learn what she never learned. We'll be right back. This is the Dr. Claudia Show.
Dr. Claudia wants to hear from you. Ask your question. 833-400-5050. That's 833-400-5050. Or go online at drclaudia.net and click on the Ask Me button.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. Do you feel like you're losing control over your finances? If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problems now by calling the experts at Tax Mediation Services and take advantage of the Fresh Start program and new laws that may allow us to negotiate a settlement for the lowest amount possible. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected so you can take control of your financial future. Tax Mediation Services is accredited by the Better Business Bureau. Call now for a free case review and a price protection guaranteed quote.
Call Tax Mediation Services now at 800-616-2130. That's 800-616-2130. 800-616-2130.
Do you need a car? Been shopping only to be turned down because of bad credit, low credit, no credit, bankruptcy, or divorce? Guess what? Today's your lucky day, because now you can buy a car, truck, or SUV, just about any vehicle. It's true. Bad credit doesn't matter. No credit doesn't matter. Bankruptcy or divorce, it just doesn't matter. As a matter of fact, your job is your ticket to your new vehicle. We're Auto Credit Express, and we've helped thousands of people just like you. Antonio H. told us, great company, got me connected, and the day I went in, I drove off in the car I wanted. 100% worth your time. Need a car? Get started now and drive off as early as today. Just go to 2ignoremyscore.com right now. That's www.2ignoremyscore.com. Auto financing the easy way. 2ignoremyscore.com. Get started today. Auto financing the easy way.
Live from the heart of all things family, welcome to the Dr. Claudia Show. Here's Dr. Claudia.
And welcome back. We're so glad you're here. I'm trying to say two words at once. That doesn't quite work out. So we have been talking about this mother-in-law who's very upset. She's so close to her son. She doesn't understand why her daughter-in-law doesn't want her in the delivery room. After all, the mother is going to be there of her daughter-in-law. So Julia has banned her mother-in-law from the delivery room. She has sent a note to Dear Prudence saying, help me figure out a way to get her to come to her senses. And she's saying that her son, Stephen, with whom she has a close relationship, is taking his wife's side. And it's as if she is surprised by that. So those of you, including me, because I have learned a lot about working with families, and what I hear about these mother-daughter, mother-in-law, daughter-in-law relationships is worth its weight in gold. So here's the story. When your son gets engaged, it is the opportunity for you to prove that you are really an adult and that you are not in competition with his fiance and bride for his attention and affection. You have had your time, and that is over. And I truly hope that you had a healthy relationship and you slowly but surely let this man go so that he can be the man he needs to be instead of hanging out with mommy all the time. You have to let them go. As soon as the umbilical cord is cut, it's over. You have to create a different kind of relationship. And that relationship really is about independence and self-sufficiency, because you are going to peel off this earth and this kid is going to be on his own. I want you to think of your daughter-in-law as the monarch of a new kingdom. Her mother is the lady in waiting, and you are the serf in the kitchen, mama of the son, because your daughter-in-law is now the queen. So let's rewind here a little bit. This woman has failed to understand her role. She sounds a little narcissistic, a little entitled, and remember, as I said, she's been a nurse for 40 years, and she has decided that that gives her all kinds of entree into making comments and offering unsolicited suggestions. So when your son falls in love and decides to get married, that's when you start your campaign. Listen to me. The wedding is about the bride and the mother of the bride. If you're smart, you will be cooperative, you will be silent, you will do what you are told. You will wear the color that you are told to wear. I don't care what you look like in it, but in those photographs and videos, you're going to be smiling and happy because it's not about you and what you're wearing. Don't be a diva. Don't be a pest. Don't be petulant. Don't be a nuisance. Do not make any of this more difficult for your son than it already is. Because the groom shows up and he gets married, but it's all about the bride, her dress, her shower, the invitations. Everything is about them. And she will naturally call on her mother. If they have a healthy, mature adult relationship, you are out of that. It's the two of them. I know you don't like to hear this, but consider yourself to be an intelligent person who understands how people work, and don't blow it. Because what you are doing now is building the foundation so that you can be included for years to come in this little family. You have to earn your trust. You have to earn her respect. You have to earn every positive feeling she will have about you, and that is by not making their lives difficult, by insisting on having everything the way you want to have it. If you're Jewish and he's marrying a Catholic, that's his issue. If he wants to become a Catholic, that's it. It's not his relationship with God. that you're thinking is important. You're thinking it's your relationship. No, you stay out of it. As my mother always said, your relationship with God is your business. How you choose to express it is your business. I'm not living in your body. You're having this experience. Your attitude is to be gratitude. It will be her home. She will establish it as she wants it to be. He will live there. This is how it works. So when you find yourself wanting to make comments or suggestions, you don't do that. Now, take no abuse from anybody, but you can respectfully disagree if you're called upon for an opinion. Make certain that you keep your boundaries and keep your agreements when you had your son to love and protect him. Now, at this point, you're going to have to protect him from you. Go to the shower, participate, do whatever you are asked to do, but offer no commentary except, this is lovely. You've done such a wonderful job. I'm hoping that the two of you will be very happy, because if you don't do that, if you don't learn to sacrifice now, you will not be invited to do the kinds of things that are really meaningful, like be there when the baby is born. Do you hear what I'm saying? So stop it. When we come back, we're going to take some of your questions, and I am going to hit on this whole run-up to the wedding season, which is rapidly approaching. This is the Dr. Claudia Show.
Dr. Claudia is ready to answer your questions. Call now, 833-400-5050. That's 833-400-5050.
Do you need a car? Been shopping only to be turned down because of bad credit, low credit, no credit, bankruptcy, or divorce? Guess what? Today's your lucky day, because now you can buy a car, truck, or SUV, just about any vehicle. It's true. Bad credit doesn't matter. No credit doesn't matter. Bankruptcy or divorce, it just doesn't matter. As a matter of fact, your job is your ticket to your new vehicle. We're Auto Credit Express, and we've helped thousands of people just like you. Antonio H. told us, great company, got me connected, and the day I went in, I drove off in the car I wanted. 100% worth your time. Need a car? Get started now and drive off as early as today. Just go to 2ignoremyscore.com right now. That's www.2ignoremyscore.com. Auto financing the easy way. 2ignoremyscore.com. Get started today. Auto financing the easy way.
Live from the heart of all things family, welcome to the Dr. Claudia Show. Here's Dr. Claudia.
Well, welcome back to the Dr. Claudia Show. People are commenting on Facebook. I'm glad you like the necklace. What is going on here? My tongue is not working. It's so hot in this place. My heavens. And one of my friends said that it's nice to see that I still talk with my hands, and she does too. So big shock there. I am taking your questions at 1-833-450-50, 833-450-50. If you want to ask me a question, just go to drclaudia.net, click on the Ask Me button, and I will answer. I am always ready to take your questions, even though many of you send them in the wee hours of the morning. Why aren't you people sleeping? Stephanie says, and this came over the Ask Me button, Stephanie, I'm not going to bust your chops and tell everybody at what time of the early morning you sent this. Our son is 12 and he has some learning disabilities and ADHD. That's attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. Oh, but the audience knows that. My listeners are very well informed. And he gets flustered easily. I've heard you say that for really disabled kids, my husband and I should go to the police station and explain the situation, but we don't think he's that disabled. Any other ideas? Well, let me go back and tell you what Stephanie is referring to. I have had clients in my practice with brain damage, with severe autism, and at times they're left at home alone appropriately. Mom might go somewhere for a few minutes, and it helps them to create confidence in their ability to take care of themselves. But I always tell parents, regardless, you just have no idea what's going to happen. So if your child has severe disabilities, especially real difficulty in speaking, and there's an emergency at home, they've got to know what to do. So make sure you go speak with the watch commander of your local police station and let them know about your child's disabilities. And so that if they do receive a call from your landline, and I recommend that if you can have a landline, get one, because the police department and the fire department are all tuned into exactly what address that phone number is coming from, unlike a cell phone where the call gets dropped and they can only generally determine where you are. That's not going to help unless your house is on fire and it's really evident. But so if your child isn't that profoundly disabled, you're going to have to make certain that you use one of those label makers or some other process to put the address on the phone. Because what 911 operators want you to know is that if you have an emergency and you dial 911, they will say, this is a 911 operator, what's your emergency? And if you give the address first, they can start rolling somebody, anybody, because seconds count in many of these situations. Make certain that your child's cell phone, if they have one, it has been enabled in such a way that the ICE, in case of emergency numbers, are listed there. So if your child is alone, they can find you and let you know what's happening to reduce the amount of stress. And you're going to have to practice how this works so that your child will know that when the 911 operator answers, not to start talking immediately, but as soon as the operator says, what's your emergency, they just start giving the address and then their name and age and tell the situation, what to say first, I'm hurt, someone's breaking in the house, that kind of thing. What we know is that the more you train, the more automatic it will be. And if you have a plan, it's halfway to getting there. My recommendation is that you have a landline, you have the address listed there, and you have the sequence of what to say in large letters. And if you have to, put some little emojis or emoticons or something there to show your child what they're going to be talking about and what to expect. Practice, practice, practice. We know that in an emergency, our brains kind of turn to mush. You know what it's like. A cop pulls up behind you at the intersection, and then as you pull off, whoop, whoop, whoop. I mean, you don't even know what your birthday is. We just kind of deteriorate. And what we're experiencing is our brains being flooded by adrenaline. And adrenaline is responsible for helping you deal with emergencies, to flee or to fight. It's not for thinking. This is why first responders and soldiers and emergency room doctors and anybody who comes to our aid, they have to have a lot of training, so that they know exactly what to do and when to do it and how to keep the rest of us from becoming hysterical over it. Practice a lot. Now, remember at the beginning of this year, I talked about a woman who I found unresponsive and indeed unconscious in the back of her car when I was walking into the grocery store. And when I dialed 911 and they came out, they looked at her phone, and smart girl, she had listed all of her medical information in that health emergency app that usually has a little heart or something on it. And if you have the phone enabled in such a way to allow first responders to access that information, it goes much more smoothly. They were able to identify exactly what her issues were, who to call, what she was allergic to. So she, even in an unconscious state, was helping them to help her. So control the controllable. I mean, do we have to make life more difficult than it is? I mean, good heavens, it's already challenging enough. So make certain that your child is well prepared, because you do not want to traumatize them because you're afraid you're going to scare them by preparing for such a thing. You're not going to scare them. You are going to empower them with information and skills, and that will help them to feel more competent in the world. Disabled child who has a neurotypical brain, which means it has no complications. So, just do the right thing and take a little time and put this together. There's no excuse for letting this kind of thing slide. You just don't want to hear yourself say, gosh, I wish I had done that. You don't get that many do-overs in life. So pay attention to that. Speaking of paying attention, are you paying attention to your teeth? There is a new study out. It's called The Sad Tooth. I guess it's a play on the sad truth. In my family, we call teeth toofers. It's just, it's that vocabulary that you carry with you after the kids are already grown. I'm going to the toofer doctor. It's like, who are these people? Go sit on the OFA. I mean, that's supposed to be the sofa, but that's how the kid described it. We think it's funny. My husband said he was never going to talk like that, but he has. So we've trained him well. 6 in 10 adults are too scared to visit the dentist. 6 in 10. I'm talking to you. If you don't go to the dentist, things are going to get worse. It's like everything else. If it's a little lump, it might be a small problem. If it's a bigger lump, it could be a bigger problem, and you're further down the road in terms of developing whatever this is going on with you. This is really shocking. 30% of millennials brush their teeth once a day. Now, I am an oral hygiene maniac. I have this complete regimen, and it's all my third grade teacher's fault. May she rest in peace, Mrs. Teresa Smith. An amazing woman. All of us girls, we're so enamored of her because she would sit at her desk after lunch and she would put on her lipstick, and it was a mystical event. But she had a chart up. We all brought toothpaste and our toothbrushes. And if you brushed your teeth after lunch, you got to fill in a little square. And I swear, I brush my teeth after I eat anything because all that acid from the sugar that we have in foods erodes your teeth much more dramatically. And if you are a person who smokes pot frequently, do you know that the one long-term impact of smoking marijuana is periodontal disease? You do not want to know a periodontist. These people have instruments of torture on that tray. You get yourself into the dentist next week. Do you promise? I'm going to tell you a life-saving reason why when we come back. You are not going to want to miss this one. This is the Dr. Claudia Show. We'll be right back.
Dr. Claudia wants to hear from you. Ask your question. 833-400-5050. That's 833-400-5050. Or go online at drclaudia.net and click on the Ask Me button.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. Do you feel like you're losing control over your finances? If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problems now by calling the experts at Tax Mediation Services and take advantage of the Fresh Start program and new laws that may allow us to negotiate a settlement for the lowest amount possible. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected so you can take control of your financial future. Tax Mediation Services is accredited by the Better Business Bureau. Call now for a free case review and a price protection guaranteed quote.
Call Tax Mediation Services now at 800-616-2130. That's 800-616-2130. 800-616-2130.
Live from the heart of all things family, welcome to the Dr. Claudia Show. Here's Dr. Claudia.
Welcome back. When we left, we were talking about dental health and just how slovenly people are. And we already know that the bugs in your mouth can make their way into your heart and create cardiac problems. And what's interesting is some of the bugs in your mouth can cause you to have ulcers. But I happened to see a companion piece about this whole issue of not flossing, and it says, don't floss. Survey finds people, wait till you hear this, use safety pins, their hair, and fingernails instead. What is wrong with these people? Okay, the Waterpik folks said that 2/5 of the people they evaluated said that they knew better than to use foreign objects. And more than 2/5 said that they had experienced physical pain as a result of their prying. You do not want to do this. You do not want to use your hair as dental floss. Oh my gosh. You know, they make it in those tiny little containers and you just whip it out and you can floss anywhere. Of course, be very careful. Now, when we left, I was talking about one of the reasons you need to get to the dentist at least once a year. If I had my way, you would be in there twice a year. I have to go 3 times because chemotherapy apparently disrupted some things in my mouth, and I have to be very careful about keeping everything spotlessly clean. And it also destroyed my fingernails, so that was fun. But I'm here. Gratitude is the attitude, so there we are. I want to talk to you about oral cancers that are the result of sexual activity. You heard me. Sexually transmitted oral cancers. If you haven't heard about this, in 2012, when Michael Douglas said that his oral cancer came from oral sex, then I don't know where you were, because there was a big brouhaha. And later, because his wife put up a fuss, as she should have, his agents walked it back saying, well, my cancer wasn't caused by that. And we have no right to know what his cancer was caused by. But here's the story. I first learned about this when one of my fathers, and one of the kids in my practice, a very well-known person, came in and for the initial interview, and he had a water bottle. And he was constantly spraying in his mouth. And obviously he felt the need to explain, and he told me that he had tonsil cancer. And as a result of the treatment, it destroyed his salivary glands. And that's part of what happens when you have this catastrophic treatment, this very devastating treatment for these various head and neck cancers. So here's the deal. More healthy men are being diagnosed with throat and mouth cancers than ever before. Now, 30 years ago, throat and neck, head and neck cancers were declining because people were stopping smoking. And now they are erupting again. And so what's happening here is that people are not paying attention. They're not going to the dentist, and they are not having their head and neck and their oral cavities evaluated. So you can't catch these things early on. So most of these head and neck cancers are being caused by the human papillomavirus. And it's caused, actually, if you were exposed to this stuff 40 years ago, it can crop up now. So don't think you're out of the clear, because mostly men between 40s and 60s are coming down with this. This is no joke. 15 to 20,000 men and women are dying of this every year, and it's not an easy exit. So they are taking a real long, hard look, because the physicians know that these issues are increasing dramatically. The incidences are increasing. And the good news is that most of us who've been exposed to the human papillomavirus, our immune system just takes care of it. But that's not always the case. And people who have chronic infections may not even be aware of this. And they're looking at using, the medical community is looking at using robot technology to remove the infected areas, but it's usually chemotherapy, radiation, and surgery. You can be disfigured. You can have serious problems with having part of your tongue. So do you hear what I'm saying to you about this? This is not just about, oh, yeah, I'm sitting here at the traffic light. I think I'll pluck out a hair and floss my teeth. That's the least of your problems. The greatest problem is an oral cancer, especially if you're a smoker. Quite honestly, smokers have a better chance of surviving an oral cancer because the human papilloma virus is mutating so dramatically, it's hard to catch it and kill it. So if you are a smoker, if you have engaged in activities that may make you vulnerable to throat and mouth cancers, get into the doctor. You do not want your team of surgeons looking at you and going, well, if you had come in earlier, you can't live with these consequences. Your family cannot live with these consequences. Now, we are getting our kids vaccinated, and they need to be vaccinated if you want to protect them from this. And there's been a great commercial floating around for a while now about, gee, Dad, gee, Mom, did you know this could happen to me? So far, only about 40% of the girls and 60% of the boys have not been vaccinated. So this is something you need to have a very serious discussion with your doctor about. Do you hear me? You cannot live with the consequences of this. Part of what's concerning the medical community is that their current patients are younger and healthier in the past. So they're going to have to live with these disfiguring complications for a lot longer. So pay attention to reality. If you have pain, difficulty with swallowing, persistent sore throat or hoarseness, unexplained weight loss, or those lymph nodes in your throat are enlarged chronically, get to the doctor now, because Dr. Claudia told you so. We will be back in a few minutes.
Do you need a car? Been shopping only to be turned down because of bad credit, low credit, no credit, bankruptcy, or divorce? Guess what? Today's your lucky day, because now you can buy a car, truck, or SUV, just about any vehicle. It's true. Bad credit doesn't matter. No credit doesn't matter. Bankruptcy or divorce, it just doesn't matter. As a matter of fact, your job is your ticket to your new vehicle. We're Auto Credit Express, and we've helped thousands of people just like you. Antonio H. told us, great company, got me connected, and the day I went in, I drove off in the car I wanted. 100% worth your time. Need a car? Get started now and drive off as early as today. Just go to 2ignoremyscore.com right now. That's www.2ignoremyscore.com. Auto financing the easy way. 2ignoremyscore.com. Get started today. Auto financing the easy way.
Live from the heart of all things family. Welcome to the Dr. Claudia Show. Come on in, sit down. Let's talk about your relationships with your kids, your spouse. I'm sorry, they were dancing and singing in here on the break, and and they're very funny and very talented, I have to say. But yeah, come on in, sit down. You'll be surprised the kinds of things I talk to you about. Go to the dentist, okay? And if you missed the last segment, I ain't repeating it because I'm probably going to get in trouble for what I said. But I'm Dr. Claudia McCulloch, your host. I'm a licensed psychologist. I'm a licensed educational psychologist. I had a private practice for 24 years. I had to talk about things that I never thought I would talk about in my life. But I'm responsible for giving you the truth about things, and I want you to be healthy, and I want you to be happy, and I don't want there to be any sad faces because I didn't tell you about something. And I put a post up on drclaudia.net because I have like 470 articles up there. And it was this quickie little post about this whole topic of oral cancers from the human papillomavirus. And somebody said, this is stupid. And I thought, oh, please. Yeah, and it's deadly, but it happens. And so take care of it. Anyway, you can reach me at 833-400-5050 if you want to give us a call, 833-400-5050. We chose the number because it's easy to remember while you're driving. But we don't want you to call us when you're driving because you get in trouble. But you can also go on drclaudia.net, drclaudia.net, and hit the Ask Me button and send me a question. I was telling the crew in here a little bit before about this new proposal that scientists have to changing the definition of adolescence to last until age 24. So right now we say it's 10 to 19, and what they want to say is that it's 10 to 24. I can't tell you how fraught that is with social and legal problems, because California has passed a bill that says that if you were 21 or something before maybe the age of 23, you can get your convictions reviewed to see if you were really youthful at the time. And I've been called on to address this, and it's very tricky because what I see happening is someone rapes and murders you and they're 23 years old and they're going to be allowed to be charged as a juvenile. Oh, let's just talk about the maelstrom of awfulness that is going to cause. Now, okay, now, maybe kids are developing later, but right and wrong develops very early when you look at social judgment. And kids who are 5 years old, kids who are 3 years old will lie intentionally to avoid punishment. That means they know that what they're doing is wrong. So I disagree with this completely. If this comes up in your legislature, you really need to pay attention to this and oppose it, because I think that that's going to be a very serious problem for a lot of people. I mean, as it is, it feels like people aren't given the sentences they deserve for the hideous crimes that have been committed. But then again, you know, we're overwhelming our prisons, and here in California, they're just letting people out. So I'm not sure what to think about any of this, but I do have a question that's come from Clara over askme@drclaudia.net. And remember, you can send these questions at any time, and you all do throughout the night. You're not sleeping. And I will take care of them the next time we come on the radio. My 9-year-old son has a friend who comes over frequently. I'm not sure what to do about a situation that keeps coming up. Any ideas? I don't know his mom well. So what the problem is that when this youngster comes over, he brags about everything. And at first blush, that may make you think that he's insecure or he feels a tremendously competitive need. But I've asked this mom, Clara, I want you to observe and make sure your child, your son, isn't provoking this sense of competition by being braggadocious at home. And let your son, give him a heads up of how you're going to handle this when it happens again. Because our rule in the McCulloch household is that you are only allowed to brag at home because it's not appealing. And our kid in particular was very sensitive to that. He had a couple of kids early in elementary school who were very braggadocious, and he found that to be very unattractive. And despite our son's young age and his accomplishments, you will never hear about it from him because it's embarrassing to him. And I'm not sure how all of that works with him, but that's an appealing quality, that he does not brag about the things that he's done. He lets his parents do it, and we work very hard not to. So when this little boy is over at your house, maybe your son is bragging because those might be your family rules that you only brag at home. And really what that means is you brag to your family, because your family, we're the ones who are supposed to be celebrating how wonderful you are and the successes that you've had. So your guy may be bragging, which may lead this other guy to one up. We're going to up the ante here. So let your son know that if you hear either one of them bragging, you're going to sit them both down and you're going to say, listen, we have a rule here, right, Johnny, that you can only brag at home, but I want you to know that we really are not going to do this when you have friends over, because you only do that with your family. So make sure your son plays along so that he kind of communicates to his friend that we don't do this. It's so off-putting when people consistently talk about the kinds of things, when they're little especially, and this is the time that they need to learn this kind of social judgment. But we've been in the presence of people who kind of go through the list of all of their accomplishments, and I talked about how that behavior last week could be a sign of narcissism, when all your date wants to talk about is the latest deal that's been closed, the latest surgery that has been done, the latest paper that they published. We need to look outward and learn from other people instead of focusing on ourselves so much. I said earlier when we were talking about the mother-in-law who's so offended that she hasn't been invited into the delivery room, that you absolutely, mothers of sons, need to start paying attention and laying the groundwork. My fear for us is that we're going to realize this way too late, what we have done. And this March 1st, 2nd, 3rd, this first week of March is really the run-up to the wedding season. And I advised you when I talked about this grandmother-to-be and how intrusive she is, that she needs to pay attention to the fact that when her son is married, her relationship with him is going to undergo a significant shift, and that her daughter-in-law is now the queen. She is the monarch, and her mother indeed is the lady in waiting. And the mother of the son has to tread very carefully not to upset this balance of power, and to earn their respect and earn their trust and earn her reputation as assuming the position that is appropriate for her. And that takes us from the engagement party to the bridal showers and the wedding. So we got a question from Linda, who says, I've been with my boyfriend for 3 years. We're starting to talk about marriage. We're both 26. There's just so much about what to ask and know before planning the wedding. Can you boil it down for me and my friends? I'm afraid that I don't know what I don't know. You are so right, Linda. We are going to hit this hard when we come back. This is the Dr. Claudia Show.
Dr. Claudia wants to hear from you. Ask your question. 833-400-5050. That's 833-400-5050. Or go online at drclaudia.net and click on the Ask Me button.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. Do you feel like you're losing control over your finances? If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problems now by calling the experts at Tax Mediation Services and take advantage of the Fresh Start program and new laws that may allow us to negotiate a settlement for the lowest amount possible. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected so you can take control of your financial future. Tax Mediation Services is accredited by the Better Business Bureau. Call now for a free case review and a price protection guaranteed quote.
Call Tax Mediation Services now at 800-616-2130. That's 800-616-2130. 800-616-2130.
Do you need a car? Been shopping only to be turned down because of bad credit, low credit, no credit, bankruptcy, or divorce? Guess what? Today's your lucky day because now you can buy a car, truck, or SUV, just about any vehicle. It's true. Bad credit doesn't matter. No credit doesn't matter. Bankruptcy or divorce, it just doesn't matter. As a matter of fact, your job is your ticket to your new vehicle. We're Auto Credit Express, and we've helped thousands of people just like you. Antonio H. told us, great company, got me connected, and the day I went in, I drove off in the car I wanted. 100% worth your time. Need a car? Get started now and drive off as early as today. Just go to 2ignoremyscore.com right now. That's www.2ignoremyscore.com. Auto financing the easy way. 2ignoremyscore.com. Get started today. Auto financing the easy way.
Live from the heart of all things family, welcome to the Dr. Claudia Show. Here's Dr. Claudia.
Welcome back. This is the Dr. Claudia Show. And as I said, we were going to be talking about weddings. And people seem to forget that weddings are the commencing of marriages. And so we get caught up in the pageantry and the colors and the tulle and the seating arrangements and the DJ and everything else that perhaps we haven't asked ourselves the right questions. We haven't been looking in the right direction to get the information. And Linda sent an Ask Me question and said very astutely, now she's 26, so I think she's a little young to be asking such astute questions, but some people have got it, and I think she's taken life very seriously. And she's saying, there's a lot to plan, there's a lot to know, but I feel like I don't know what I don't know. And that is really what you need to look at. What are you missing? This is supposed to be a lifetime commitment, and only 50% of the people who get married are able to follow through on that lifetime commitment. And divorce is devastating. It's public, it's undeniable, and when there are children involved, it can be catastrophic to their development. So I'm going to take you through a couple of elements of the relationship that you need to look at to know if it is real love. Now, as I've said, I have dealt with over, oh, there we are. There's the music. Yep, that's what we're looking at, real love. Before you slap down the deposits, I want you to listen really, really carefully. Even go back through this podcast and listen very carefully and ask yourself the brutal questions. Be honest with yourself. Don't marginalize, minimize, or deny the problems you know in your gut you are having. So ask yourself the questions. Be honest about the answers so that when you start making these deposits and when you walk down that aisle or you're at the end of the aisle and you watch your bride coming toward you, you are confident about the path you are going to take. Okay, you're an adult, so take responsibility for it. Let's go through these. Because money is one of the biggest causes of divorce, you have to talk about it right away. Everything needs to be on the table. All the debt, if you have debt, how are you handling it? Are you an adult about it? Do you have a plan? Are you able to resist being impulsive and buying those new rims for the car when you are $30,000 in debt and your credit cards have been canceled because you can't make the payments on time? Make certain that you have come to an agreement about savings goals, priorities in spending, because you know refrigerators and furniture are very expensive, as is insurance. You know that adult thing you have to get to protect your future. Now, you have to talk about the details. None of this, oh, he has some credit card and spending debt, but he's handling it. No, 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 no. Your future is going to be tied to his future. Your future is going to be tied to her future. You better start out with an understanding of where the money is going. So this is not only about past debts, but how you are going to handle the cost of this wedding. Have you checked out how expensive these things can get? And it's a one-time event. And yes, it should not be just about the pageantry, but about the commitment. So if you hear your bridegroom or bride saying, this is getting too expensive, sit down and say, what can we cut? What can we do to make certain that the beginnings of our married life actually have a chance of surviving, because both of us know how to take responsibility and we know how to keep our agreement? If you're thinking about having the prince or princess wedding, I want you to be practical, because the more you spend, the more fights you're going to have. One of the big ticket factors in this is, when will home ownership take place and how are we going to get there? What's our timeline? And you've heard me hopefully talk about this very intrusive mother-in-law. I have always said to young couples, consider renting for the first year if you're going to be living near your in-laws, just to have a trial run on how they're going to, Mike's laughing, of how you're going to handle them popping over or driving by and honking or calling you later and saying, oh, I see you're both home. Can we come over? I have a casserole for you. Your job is to establish your oneness of the relationship. It's your wedding. It's not the fairy tale extravaganza that your mother or mother-in-law did not get to have. It's your wedding. This is the time for you to start establishing those boundaries of, we are going to do it our way, Frank Sinatra. Maybe that should be a theme song of yours when they walk through the door with their list of things they'd like to see happen at the wedding. Always prefacing, I love you, but this is the way we're going to do it here. When we come back, we're going to talk about two items that typically get discussed separately, but they need to be discussed together. Two items, big ticket items that need to be discussed together because they are so intertwined. And your family is going to have a lot of input. They think they're going to have a lot of input as to these two items, and you need to draw a line in the sand for them there. It's very important. You may not end up having face-to-face conversations because these two items are very contentious. That's when letter writing will do the job for you. All right, we will be back in a moment. This is the Dr. Claudia Show.
Dr. Claudia is ready to answer your questions. Call now, 833-400-5050. That's 833-400-5050.
Do you need a car? Been shopping only to be turned down because of bad credit, low credit, no credit, bankruptcy, or divorce? Guess what? Today's your lucky day, because now you can buy a car, truck, or SUV, just about any vehicle. It's true. Bad credit doesn't matter. No credit doesn't matter. Bankruptcy or divorce, it just doesn't matter. As a matter of fact, your job is your ticket to your new vehicle. We're Auto Credit Express, and we've helped thousands of people just like you. Antonio H. told us, great company, got me connected, and the day I went in, I drove off in the car I wanted. 100% worth your time. Need a car? Get started now and drive off as early as today. Just go to 2ignoremyscore.com right now. That's www.2ignoremyscore.com. Auto financing the easy way. 2ignoremyscore.com. Get started today. Auto financing the easy way.
Live from the heart of all things family, welcome to the Dr. Claudia Show. Here's Dr. Claudia.
Yes, I am. Here I am, ready to go, talking about the two aspects of marriage that lots of people feel that they can offer spontaneous comments, that their information is more important than yours, and they love to control the situation. And these two elements are kids and God. If you are getting married, you have to have these conversations about how you were raised, how you're going to improve on it. Because I know in the McCulloch family, when we made parenting mistakes, after the apology, accusing the kid of doing things he didn't do, that kind of stuff, what my husband and I would always come back and say is, well, if we were perfect, what would you have to talk to Oprah about? Or your therapist? Or if we were perfect, then you have nothing to improve on. So we have to leave a little room for you to be better than we are. So feel free to use those comebacks. But you have to discuss how you're going to raise these children, like you were raised, or what would you like to do differently? And it's very important that the two of you understand what the other person's relationship with the parents is about. Because if you were raised in an unhealthy household, one of you may be experiencing the adult attachment disorder, which can be catastrophic to a relationship. What does that mean? That means they didn't get what they needed from their parent. And as a result, you're still seeing it in the adult. And that means they're going to pass on some of this stuff to the kids. So perhaps if you're hearing bride or bridegroom that mother and mother-in-law to be were not the kind of caring, nurturing parent that we like to see, it's probably a good idea to get a little of that done, taken care of in therapy, so that you know what you might be passing on to your kids. Hey, just Google adult attachment issues. See if you can see yourself in some of these profiles. Incredibly, incredibly critical. So not only religion, we're talking about spiritual, the God type of religion, but sometimes people treat politics like religion. So I'm not saying that you have to be on the same page, but you have to make an agreement as to how you're going to fairly fight over these issues, because they will be skirmishes. If you have the same value system, if you have similar religious and political viewpoints, that's going to give you a foundation from which to weather the storms, and they will come. And that one year we had one hurricane after another. And that's how life works, and that's how marriage works. So if you have some common ground, then your chances of staying together are increased. You must talk about how you are going to wrestle the family. There is always going to be one person in the family who is going to need much more discussion than the others. It could be the mother, the mother-in-law, to a lesser extent, father and father-in-law, but siblings love to get into this. You know that siblings can really destabilize a marriage. If you have that brother or sister who goes through so many jobs and now sees your household as a place to crash between jobs, get that script down. Know what you are going to say. We don't have room. We're not going to do this for you. You're an adult. You're responsible. Go ahead. Use the words. Tell them what the expectations are. You're smart, you're capable, you just have some issues. Get them worked on. Do not bring that into my home, because once it comes through that door, oh, darling, you are never going to get rid of these people. You know what happens when you feed stray cats? They come through the door, they're going to stay. And sometimes they end up being, wonderful family pets, but you don't want your brother to be the family pet. How many children are you going to have? How are we going to raise them? Are we going to send them to Sunday school, catechism, Hebrew school? How are we going to do that? What is valuable to us? Are we going to have them take musical classes? Are they going to be in athletics? If so, do you have any objection to a boy or girl playing football? What do you think about this whole thing? Well, gee, I haven't thought about it. Well, hello, we're getting ready to be married, and usually that means children. At what point were we going to have these discussions? Well, I want my kid to be a linebacker. Well, I don't think so. That comes with a nice, healthy dose of chronic traumatic encephalopathy. I don't want my kid to be, drooling when he's 55. No, I don't want that. You've got to work that out. Now, what happens if, one person went to Florida State and the other went to the University of Florida, or one person went to USC and the other went to UCLA? You see those bumper stickers that says a house divided. Which games are we going to go to? You cannot believe the seemingly small things that can disrupt a marriage and just blow up into chronic skirmishes. You can't have that. And speaking of children, what if we don't conceive? Will we go the assisted reproductive route? Will we look at adoption? Oh, no, I'm not doing it. I'm not raising anybody else's kids, are some of the things that I've heard from adults married, sitting on the sofa in my office. You need to know that, because if you want to be a parent, regardless of how you get there, your significant other, spouse-to-be, needs to know of that commitment of raising a child and giving it the love and care that it needs. Okay? Do you hear me on that? It's huge. It's really huge. What if a family has these must-have traditions and you are so not in for that? You have to decide now how you're going to do this. Are you going to work, Mama, when you have the baby? How are the responsibilities be shared? Are there any dreams that need to be achieved before you walk down that aisle? We want to go places. We want to get a degree. We want to start a business. You have to talk about this now before that first deposit check is handled. Family and friends, how are you going to do all of that? That's huge, because that will be a disrupting force because of the alliances that are created. I have always recommended that young couples about to be married, and believe me, I saw a lot of these people because there were genetically based disabilities, and these were the older siblings that came in and said, gee, am I going to give this to my child? Is my child going to be autistic? Is my child going to have Down syndrome? How do we handle this? You did such a great job with my brother. Now I am at this part in my life and I need to know. So this is how I learned about this stuff. I am not a marriage and family therapist, but there are some things people know how to do, and you've got to have the plan to problem solve. You two work out all the values on it. I'm going to tell you the truth about how to get it done. Think about the potential hurdles you are going to have to face during the first year and develop that template of how do we resolve the problems, because you can't anticipate every problem. I mean, here comes the meteor. Stuff is going to happen like you never even thought. I was up for partner and then I lost my job. How are we going to handle that? Will we have our 6 months of savings to help us weather the storm? Losing the job is tough enough, but then you bring all the emotions into it. So you must think about, how am I going to do my best to protect this marriage? When we come back, I am going to tell you something hilarious. The experiences of well-seasoned wedding photographers and how they can predict whether or not the marriage is going to last. You do not want to miss this. This is the Dr. Claudia Show.
Dr. Claudia wants to hear from you. Ask your question. 833-400-5050. That's 833-400-5050. Or go online at drclaudia.net and click on the Ask Me button.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. Do you feel like you're losing control over your finances? If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problems now by calling the experts at Tax Mediation Services and take advantage of the Fresh Start program and new laws that may allow us to negotiate a settlement for the lowest amount possible. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected so you can take control of your financial future. Tax Mediation Services is accredited by the Better Business Bureau. Call now for a free case review and a price protection guaranteed quote.
Call Tax Mediation Services now at 800-616-2130. That's 800-616-2130. 800-616-2130.
Live from the heart of all things family, welcome to the Dr. Claudia Show. Here's Dr. Claudia.
Welcome back. And we are going to continue with our wedding theme here about the questions you need to ask when you are about to get married. And I've kind of covered all of that, and you can just check with the podcast. They're on the left side of the drclaudia.net website, drclaudia.net. I don't want you to think it's the whole doctor word. It's just too much information. I read this hilarious article about how these well-seasoned photographers, what were the key points they looked at in order to determine how long the marriage will last? And I fell out laughing. The first one, and there are 8 of them, the first one is one partner isn't interested in being in the photographs. Now, some people don't like having their picture taken, but they do it to make their partner happy. This one guy gave this anecdote that one bride demanded that the camera never be pointed at her all day long. They were divorced, not 1, not 2, but 3 months later, after this big wedding that they spent a fortune on. Oh, this is telling. You know how if your dog or your friends don't like your spouse to be, ding, 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 you need to pay attention to that. This one photographer is saying if more than 20% of the invites are rejected, stop what you're doing and look at what's happening, because your friends and family want the best for you. And under the influence of lust and love, you may not see the things I was just telling you about you need to check into. And do you know that when you are in a state of being in love, it truly is intoxicating. You have the same cognitive profile as if you had been drinking. Number 3 of the 8 things that wedding photographers have seen to determine how long a marriage will last is if there is forced chemistry. One partner's got it, the other one, not so much. So the one who's got the chemistry is overcompensating. No. If there's no natural chemistry, you need to listen to your instincts. There's a reason you are not on fire for this person. I know. I've used that theme twice today, I swear. Okay, number 4. When a brawl breaks out between the bridal party attendants, you need to just stop what you're doing. Stop and go back. Okay, so this one photographer said that 10 minutes before he was supposed to be there, the bride called him and canceled because she learned that her groom had slept with the matron of honor, right? The matron of honor is married. And then a fight broke out amongst the groomsmen. So there were a lot of hostilities around all of these relationships, and you do not want to commit to a lifetime of wedded bliss if people are fighting. Number 5, we talked about this, the financial differences. Now, when the photographers are interviewing the happy couple and the groom is saying, this wedding is taking me to the cleaners, it's time to stop your forward motion. Step back and go through that list I discussed at the beginning of the last segment and just listen to the podcast. Take notes. You've got to figure this out before you spend, I don't know, what's the average cost of a wedding these days? I mean, funerals are like $15,000 at this point. So, if you're feeding all these people at a wedding, it's rough. Number 6, if couples bicker on their wedding day or make sarcastic jokes, the photographer said that the one bride had been asked to kiss her husband and kiss her husband to pose for certain pictures. And she says, oh, no, I'm done kissing him. And apparently the groom did not have any response to that. Uh-oh. That's a problem. And number 7, if the relationship is based solely on physical attraction, you look at these couples, if they are all over each other, okay, oh my God, Okay, Mike has just said the national average in America for a wedding is $35,000. Okay, I paid $36,000 to get a PhD. Oh, that's Fortune magazine. Oh, of course. Absolutely. Oh. God, I'm glad I have a son. Does that whole thing that the bride's family pays for that? You're in the clear. I'm in the clear. I'm done. I paid for the college. You know, I gave birth to him. I raised him. We raised him. Now we're not paying for it. No, that's not true. So if the relationship is based solely on physical attraction, you see a lot of, kind of over the top PDA, public displays of affection. Have to be careful with that, because that suggests that they have poor social judgment, poor impulse control. They're maybe not looking at the depths of what the relationship should be. So that's a problem. And here's a killer. Last one, number 8. A very well-seasoned wedding photographer who had photographed over 1,000 weddings, can you imagine, said that when couples don't spend much, quote unquote, air quotes there, much time together at the reception, and they're very busy talking with friends and family that they don't usually get to see, which of course there should be some of that. So if you are a guest at the wedding, don't monopolize the bride and or the groom's time. Okay, be a good guest. This photographer said that at one wedding, he ended up having only 2 to 3 pictures of the bride and groom actually together. So they were not really even at their own celebration. That's a serious problem. Let's look at why we're having the issues that we're having with our marriages. And from what wedding photographers have had to say, it's very evident before the actual celebration. And I think that I don't think anything about this. I know that I have given you some really wonderful guidelines and questions, and you can find some of this stuff on the internet, I'm sure. Online, there are probably all kinds of surveys you can give one another. If it provokes a conversation, you need to have at that. It's better to find out now than later, when you're 2 kids down the road and a mortgage and a lot of investment. It just isn't healthy. You're grown up. You're getting married. Be adult about it and use your intelligence, and don't be like that drunken person because you're in the fog of love and lust. Okay, so I want to thank you for joining us. We love having you here. I can't wait to hit my email every day to see what kinds of questions you're asking me. And sometimes you really push me to the limits of my knowledge, but I always find an answer in something that I've said or learned before. So you can always reach me on Facebook at Dr. Claudia McCulloch. That's Dr. Claudia, MCCULLOCH, cha-cha-cha. Reach out to us anytime. This isn't goodbye. This is just see you later. This is the Dr. Claudia Show.
The Dr. Claudia Show educates and informs. No therapeutic relationship is established between the listener and Dr. Claudia. No liability will be assumed by Dr. Claudia or this station for any alleged damage. For professional help, please consult a specialist.
Do you need a car? Been shopping only to be turned down because of bad credit, low credit, no credit, bankruptcy, or divorce? Guess what? Today's your lucky day, because now you can buy a car, truck, or SUV just